This is a little Ford Anglia I've just received, and what I'm going to do with this, I'm going to strip it down and repaint it in the same colour because, coincidentally, I managed to get the paint before I managed to get the Anglia, and the paint is an almost perfect match. And also, I used to own one of these. I used to have an Anglia, and it was this colour long time ago, which I couldn't even afford to put on the road because I was a student at the time. But subsequently, a friend actually restored it for me, and the number plate is still on. I think it's a Jaguar or Mercedes or BMW or something now. Just wish I'd kept the number actually. But what I've already done is I've taken the tyres off because there's I think 4 different tyres here, and the next job is I'll drill out these rivets, take these 2 rivets out, remove the base plate, and then that'll give us something to work with. I'm probably going to redo the axles and keep the wheels, repaint this, and obviously using the paint that I've just mentioned, I'm going to prime it and then paint it and then put it back together again, and hopefully it'll look a lot better than how it looks just now. So that's it now, with the rivets drilled out, which allowed the base plate to come off. So that's now just needing a bit of a clean up, and then I'll be able to get that painted. This also came out. This is very flimsy, very plasticky. You can see through it actually, and that, strangely enough, was held in place by a piece of foam underneath here. Now the foam was just so crumbly that I couldn't even bring it in to let you see it because it just basically broke up in my hands. But the worst thing was actually the windscreen, which is in really good condition. I don't want to ruin it because I don't want to have to replace it. That was held in place by that there, and I tried to drill it out, and I thought if I drill too hard I'm going to end up going through into the roof. So the Dremel rather came out, and after a bit playing around with it, I managed to get it out. So that should be able to be cleaned up, go back in, and then what I'll do is I'll epoxy that in place, and that'll be it. And I think we'll leave out the piece of foam. So that's the stage we're at now. So it'll be clean up, put aside for just now, and a strip down. Right, well, I've now managed to strip the paint off both the body and off the chassis. Funny thing just to remark about the chassis is that I thought I had read somewhere that you could remove rust by putting it into white wine vinegar. So I put it in white wine vinegar to get rid of some rust that was on here, left it overnight, and what it did was it managed to strip off all the paint. Now I think the paint on the bottom is not as good as the paint that would have been on the top. So the top, I'll tell you about that in a minute. But this on the chassis, on the base plate rather, what I've done was taken all the paint off, gone over it with a little wire brush on a Dremel, and now I've masked off the wheels because I'm going to keep all this intact, not take the wheels off, because I think it'd be better if I do it this way. I know I can take the wheels off, and I've got new replacement axles here, but I'm going to do it this way. With the body, I stripped it down, or stripped it off paint rather, by using the caustic soda method, which, if anyone's going to use it, please check out some instructions, and please wear all the protective gear and stuff. It is a dangerous method. It can be a dangerous method, but it's very good for getting rid of all the paint. It didn't look like this when it came out the vat, but with a bit of a wire brush and also a little bit of 800 grade paper, I've managed to sort of like rub down some of it. I'm hoping to get a really good finish on this car. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to spray it with undercoat, prime it, maybe rub it down, and then prime it again, Don't want to overdo it because it's actually a pretty good casting, and I don't want to lose some of the finer detail. You can see there's a bonnet grille, there's the radiator grille, a door handles, and even the little badge at the back there. So I don't want to lose any of that detail, and I'll be careful as I do it. But yeah, both of them now ready for priming. Right, that's it. That's the first lot of primer done. This is the base, and it's the underside of the base. So sprayed that once, give it 10 minutes, give it another spray. So that's completely finished for that side anyway. On the body, sprayed it once on the inside, left it 10 minutes, did it again, but did the outside as well. Down the side, the bonnet, bit of the boot, the other side. What I plan to do is to rub this down, I think with, I think it's 800 paper. It's probably the best, just to try and get a smoother finish on the final paint. But at least it seems to be getting, I always like when it gets first layer of primer done, because it kind of freshens it up and makes it look nice and as if you're getting somewhere. Well, next stage. Managed to spray the base. I masked off the wheels and sprayed it, well, primed it, a couple of light coats, and then a couple of coats of, this is silk, and I think my idea about not taking the axles off is actually probably the best idea in the end, because I managed to mask them quite well, and that looks okay. That was relatively easy to do. This, on the other hand, pain in the bum. 3 times I had to go. First time, too much paint on the last coat. Second time, stripped down completely again. Second time, again, too much paint on the last coat, and stripped down once more. This is the third attempt. Now, it'll do. It's maybe because it wasn't proper car paint. It was like craft paint or something, and it did seem to be very thick. If I put it on in light strokes, it was rough. You could feel it was really rough. If you put it on as a slightly heavier coat, it ended up dripping, or there was drops on the second one. It was actually right along the bottom there. You can see it's a little bit heavy there. But I think it's probably because of the paint. I'm not going to do it again. That's good enough for me. The paint colour match was so good to the original car and to the original Anglia that I used to have many years ago, that I'm prepared to go with this paint, but probably not use that kind of paint again and just stick to the car paint. Or I've considered an airbrush, which I might do eventually, because I do think that car paint, even it can be a bit thick at times. Although if you put it on thick, it tends to dry a bit better. As I say, I don't know whether to even rub this down slightly. I don't know, I'll update it on the next part of this video, but for the time being, I'm reasonably happy with it for all that it is. It's just really, for myself, this is not going anywhere. Yeah, definitely going to stick with it as it is. Well, that's it all finally painted, and I managed to get 4 tyres out of my bits of stuff that I left over from years ago when I used to do this kind of thing more often. They were marked up as Man from Uncle car wheels, tyres rather. So they were repro parts and had to be sort of cleaned up a little bit, but they seem to fit that okay, so that's fine. And on this, you can see that I've now detailed it with the badge, even the badges on the back. The coach line was quite difficult, but I think I've done it, and I'm not going to go over it again because I'm just going to waste it if I do. And some detailing at the back, and of course the front, and with the word, I think it's Ford or Anglia, that's on the front there, which is obviously so small you can't see it. And something I've managed to do, which I don't know how it'll look in the end, but it's even got a license disc. So what I need to do now is put all this together, and then it'll be complete. Ta-da! Well, that's it, finally done. Finally managed to do this Ford Anglia. What I did yesterday, after I had detailed the body, then joined the base plate onto it. The base plate was lightly glued with epoxy resin just here and there. And these are false rivets, although they've been epoxy resined in, so part of they're actually not the ones that you buy that are made of white metal. Sometimes need a bit of modifying, but they're just basically the heads of nails which I've polished up and shined, and they've got a little piece about that length that goes into the hole that I drilled. So in actual fact, with that being epoxied in the hole as well, they are working to hold the base plate in too. But as I say, it's now finished. It looks very similar to one that I had was given to me by an uncle actually when I was a student, and I had no money to put it on the road, and eventually a friend bought, this is a real car, bought the car, redid it, restored it rather, and sent me some pictures of it some years later. The car itself is long gone now, but the actual registration number, FGM831, that still exists. I really wish I'd kept the number now, but well, you do things that at the time I couldn't afford basically to sort of transfer it, and was happy to just get the money for the car, and basically to see the car being restored was more important than even the money at the time. The one big difference is the interior of mine was almost the same colour as outside, striped with white, if that makes sense, but because it was so delicate on the inside, I didn't want to apply paint. The paint might even have reacted with it, and it would have looked like I just sprayed the whole thing, you know, the same colour of paint, which I'm not quite sure what the colour is, but it caused me no end of trouble because the car, I'm happy-ish with it, but in places it's a little bit heavy. But I had 3 attempts at this chassis, and 3 attempts at this body. So it was paint, well, it was strip paint, strip paint, strip paint, and this is the 3rd attempt, which is fine. I hand lined the stripe down the side, and I've detailed the front and the back, and of course, as I say, the number plate as well. I printed that to scale with the correct font. So I hope you like it. I like it. It's gone in my collection now. It won't be sold. It's not one that I would sell, and I quite enjoyed doing it, but don't know if I want to use this paint again. I don't want to have to do the body 3 times. So thank you for watching, and hope you've enjoyed it. Thanks.